Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking some truly fascinating neurobiological secrets about raising successful children. We're going to explore the hidden modern threats to human development based on some incredible expert insights. Ready? Let's dive right in and fundamentally rethink how we raise the next generation. So let's start by busting a massive societal myth right out of the gate. You know, the idea of the born genius. Is success just hardwired into our DNA from day one? Well, the source material reveals a pretty profound truth. While genetics definitely provide a baseline, how a child is raised over their first 15 to 20 years matters way more than their biology at birth. Think about it. If you take a genetically gifted child and isolate them in a jungle for 10 years, their genius isn't just going to naturally manifest in society. Nurture, and specifically genuine human interaction, is absolutely the key to unlocking all that potential. Okay, so here's the roadmap for This Explainer. We're going to cover 5 key areas. First, decoding modern parenting. Second, the new IQ, or interactive quotient. Third, the root of autism. Fourth, the screen time emergency. And finally, number 5, the serve to succeed solution. Let's kick things off with section 1. Decoding modern parenting. We've seen this massive generational shift lately, right? We've moved away from ineffective physical punishment, which is a good thing, but we've drifted into this overly soft parenting that unfortunately shields kids from necessary, healthy disappointment. True parenting, however, actively builds on our human evolution. It targets the 4 core traits housed in our brain's prefrontal cortex: delayed gratification, rational thought, the ability to communicate, and thinking and planning as a group. Historically, we literally survived by cooperating. Today, we really need to foster these exact same cooperative traits instead of wrapping our kids in bubble wrap. Which brings us right into section 2, the new IQ, which stands for interactive quotient. Now this is a real game changer. The true measure of a child's potential in society is not their intelligence quotient, it's their interactive quotient. Think about it for a second. When a child walks into a crowded room, do they immediately reach for a tablet, or do they actually greet the people there? Do they know how to interact differently with a visiting aunt versus a strict grandfather? How quickly do they bounce back when they get upset? The capacity and duration of a child's engagement with different human personalities is hands down the greatest predictor of their future success and resilience. Let's move on to section 3, the root of autism. Based on the New Horizons theory, the source material uses this absolutely brilliant analogy to explain how we often mishandle neurodevelopmental delays. It explains that treating autism by forcing a child to just blindly repeat words, like making them say good morning, is literally like giving someone paracetamol for malaria. Sure, it might temporarily lower the fever or mimic normal speech, but it completely masks the symptoms without curing the underlying disease. The core deficit isn't a lack of vocabulary, it's a fundamental lack of genuine human engagement and understanding why we even communicate in the first place. To really understand that root deficit, we have to look at how a child's brain focuses. And the crucial difference lies right here. Excessive focus on predictable objects, like counting the exact number of bricks on a wall or constantly swiping a screen, that leads to rigid pattern addiction. Objects always behave the exact same way. But humans, we are completely dynamic and unpredictable. Engaging with humans teaches a child to adapt to shifting moods, nonverbal cues, and complex behaviors. When a child is overly focused on objects, they literally lose the ability to read the human world. This leads us to a very serious topic in section 4, the screen time emergency. This object engagement is being completely supercharged by modern technology, leading to this staggering statistic. Autism diagnosis rates are now at roughly 1 in 31 children. So why the massive spike? Well, the source highlights that we've essentially lost the traditional panpardos, the large, noisy joint family neighborhood. Back in the day, a child with genetic vulnerabilities was constantly surrounded by maybe 20 to 30 interacting relatives and neighborhood kids. This intense social environment acted as a natural buffer that forced human engagement. But today, that buffer is completely gone, leaving vulnerable genetics fully exposed in very isolated environments. And because of this isolation, we're seeing a terrifying rise in something called virtual autism. These are children born completely neurotypical, no genetic predisposition to autism whatsoever. Yet they develop severe developmental delays simply because screens and object engagement have completely replaced the human faces they desperately needed to learn from during those critical developmental windows. It's truly a crisis. The experts in our source material do not mince words about this. They actually compare screen addiction to narcotics. In fact, they argue it's worse because no parent intentionally buys narcotics for their child, right? But we hand over smartphones without a second thought. Modern AI and VR headsets are quite literally acting as a form of solitary confinement for developing brains. They trap kids in purely artificial, predictable pattern loops and just destroy their grip on human reality.
Okay, let's look at how we fix this in Section 5, the Serve to Succeed solution.
So, how do we actually fight back and raise resilient, successful human beings? The core mantra presented here is serve to succeed. The absolute most important factor in a child's societal survival is their ability to naturally help others. Imagine a classroom where a teacher drops a heavy stack of books. While the other kids might laugh, the child who immediately steps forward to pick them up instantly becomes the teacher's ally. Society protects those who serve it. Whether it's offering a glass of water to a guest or just doing daily household chores, teaching a child to provide value to others is literally the ultimate insurance policy for their future. To actually implement this, we have to intentionally create a new paydos, a new neighborhood. First, we have to ruthlessly limit screen and object engagement in those early years. Second, encourage daily household chores and helping out. Third, we need to transform our schools. Instead of being these academic factories that just push rote memorization, schools need to become vibrant community spaces. The source points to models like Finland, where young students might spend their days serving at old age homes or community centers. They're prioritizing real-world empathy and group interaction over early standardized testing, and it works. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a look at your own household or your own community. Are our current parenting and educational methods just building isolated, screen-addicted test takers? Or are we actively cultivating the deeply connected, empathetic, and resilient humans that our future desperately needs? The choice is entirely ours, and the time to shift the paradigm is right now. Thanks so much for joining me, and I encourage you to keep questioning, keep learning, and keep engaging.